Yes, we are live for another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. We are just a few days away from another Derby d'Italia, and this one, for a couple of teams that are not top of the table, but trying to stay in that Scudetto race, this is going to be an incredibly important matchup between Juventus and Inter. We also have the lingering disappointment of Italy not qualifying for the World Cup for second straight World Cup. So I'm very upset, but we have a lot to talk about, and we have a loaded panel. Let me introduce the panel, and then I'll bring in my co-host, Jerry Mancini. I'm Alex Donno, by the way. Joining us for the first time, because I try to keep the Juventini away, but then eventually they find us. We've got a couple of gentlemen in from all Juve cast. Let's bring on the first timer first, who's one of the greatest beards I've ever seen, Anthony Scanga. Thank you so much for taking some time with us, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be on the show today. I thought I might have been on here once before, but with Jerry. But with Jerry, everything's like pandemonium. Like I'm sure Jerry forgot, but I'm glad to be back. It's an honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to another great show.
Well, I hope it's great. You're going to help us make it great, and a guy who usually helps us make it great because he's got the greatest jawline in all of sports. You did something different with your face, though, Daniel Lucci. Like, you used to have a little bit of a beard going on. Now you look a little like Paulo Dybala. Like, you don't look manly anymore.
I don't know if that's an insult or should take that as a compliment. Apparently, he's a good.
It depends on whether or not he signs with Inter. If he ends up signing with Inter, it's a compliment. If not, it's an insult.
I was gonna say it's the other way around for us. But whatever. I'll take it either way. I just wish I had his money too. That would help. But thanks for having me back again, guys. It should be fun.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And a show favorite returns. The prodigal son returns. And listen, he does some of the best Napoli content in the world. And listen, the two gentlemen I already introduced do some of the best Juventus content. I've been told. I don't engage in a whole lot of Juventus content, but I do every now and then. I dabble in some Napoli content. And Joe Fischetti is one of the best in the business. Joe, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. That was very nice of you to say. And I can tell you, despite being a Napolitan, I've listened to all Juve cast, and they do a fantastic job. If you want quality Juve content, I know Napoli fans are gonna, pretend like we can't listen to other shows because it's Juve. Not me. I listen to everything, Milan, Lazio, whatever. But yeah, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Of course. Yeah, and I think we've decided that all Juve cast is the most tolerable Juventus content on the internet, which coming from me is a huge
I think we'll
compliment.
take that, Lucci?
Yep.
We'll take it.
Sounds like a good compliment to me.
Now, a man who provides me, when we just chat on the phone, some of the best Edmonton Oilers content and the best Lazio content is my co-host, Jerry Mancini. Jerry, I know. Like, how are the Oilers even doing? Like, you're all bullish now. Are they doing better than Lazio?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Much better. We're hunting for a playoff spot.
This is same.
Yeah. This is no. What Lazio's hunting for a Europa League spot. What the heck is that? That's like, doesn't even count. But yeah, I'm loving the Oilers right now. This is the best. If you're a hockey fan and your team's in the playoff hunt, this is the time of year that you love hockey the most because it's that grinding period where the last 16 games of the stretch, it's like a Scudetto race right now where the last 6-7 games right down to the wire and you have to, like, every game matters. And if like Sunday example is like game 7 basically of a hockey game between Inter and Juventus, and whoever basically drops the game will be behind the 8 ball. And whoever wins will be ahead and will be in the driver's seat, or not in the driver's seat, but will be in a better position. So I would treat that, I guess that's a good segue of the Juventus Inter game as a game 7 if it was a hockey game for me in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the current Serie A table provides a pretty powerful visual aid for that. Only a point separates Inter and Juventus right now. Inter do have a game in hand, a match against Bologna from a couple of months ago that wasn't played due to COVID. And at that point in time, that was when Inter were in their best run of form of the season. So if they had played that game when scheduled, it looked like a free 3 points, right? They're gonna end up playing it. I think April 27th is the date they just decided on. So, based on the way Inter have looked since February, unless they can come back to their winter form, it doesn't necessarily look like a win on paper. But Inter do have the game in hand, 1 point on top of Juve in the table. Juve with 59 points, Inter on 60 points. And, of course, both squads are looking up at Joe Fischetti's Napoli with their 63 points, and Milan currently top of the table with their 66 points. And so this is one of those, and I'll go around the table on this. And I guess for those watching, I'm going to go down the table on this because our formation is switched up with the table that we're looking at. So I'll start Anthony with you on this. The loser of this match, whether it's Inter or Juve, will the loser of this match be out of the Scudetto race, or could a miracle run of form still salvage hopes of that?
I might go a little bit against what I said on our own show. I already think that Juventus is out of the Scudetto race. I Inter with that game in hand. They have rescheduled. I think it's a midweek game. Someone might be able to fill me in on who they played before and after, but I think for me, Juventus is just trying to secure that fourth place spot. So a draw would be good here. We haven't beaten a top 4 team yet this season. Lucci, correct me if I'm wrong there. We have 0 wins against the top 4 teams. So a win is a bonus, but I think a draw here to hold off Atalanta and the trailing teams just behind us is really what all I need as a Juventus fan.
Does defeating Roma or Lazio count as beating a top 4 team?
No.
All right, I tried.
Try to
top
be nice
4 Europa League contenders.
But that's pretty important because these other teams like Napoli and Milan, they've been able to get maximum points off of each other at the top of the table, and Juventus hasn't been able to do that this season. You're not going to win a Scudetto unless you do that. They've already dropped way too many points. I just don't see a Scudetto happening for us this year.
Yeah, I've said it over the last couple of months because obviously Juventus found some form and made it interesting because early in the season they looked terrible. And then when they started to gain form, people sometimes on this show and on other shows, they'd ask me, hey, are you afraid of Juventus, becoming a Scudetto contender? And my answer was always no for this season, but for long term, absolutely, because they're going to find more consistency under Allegri, and they added Vlahovic mid-season, so that's going to be a big carryover into next year. So it's Juve put themselves in the conversation, but I don't necessarily, as an Interista, obviously Milan and Napoli at this moment just on the table worry me more. But I think for next year, I would venture to guess that when the preseason odds come out for next year, Juve would probably be favored by the odds makers to win a Scudetto. That's how I think this is heading. But what about you, Lucci? Do you still hold on to a glimmer of hope for Scudetto this season? And do you think losing this match would kill either team's hope?
So I've been told I'm the negative one of our all Juve cast group. So hearing Anthony say what pretty much I'm thinking makes him just as equally negative. I want to have that on record going forward. But I think, our Scudetto chances were kind of out the road, out of the gate, starting so slowly, and then, not being able to pick up points against Napoli, against Milan, a draw against Inter. So although this weekend's game is a big one, and a draw or a win would be great in securing that top 4 spot, I just think finishing, for the Scudetto is just it's too far. It's too far of a reach for us at this point. I just don't see it happening.
So, Joe Fischetti, let's build on that idea that, whoever loses this match obviously is in a really tough spot. And statistically, Inter have better chances at a Scudetto. But if Inter drop points or even lose this match, does that pretty much kill their hopes?
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty difficult just because if it was just one team above them that they had to catch, I think it'd be more doable for either of these clubs, right? Whoever loses the match. But when you factor in that there are 3 teams above them or 2 in, depending on the circumstances in that Bologna match, that's what makes it more difficult. But it's not out of the question because all of these teams have dropped points, right? You look at 2022, it almost feels like they're trying to not win. Everyone's trying to not win the Scudetto more than anyone's trying to win it. No one's really kind of taken the opportunity and gone on a run like Inter did last season, right? So Yeah, I think it'll be very difficult for whoever loses this match. Obviously, as a Napoli fan, I'm hoping for a draw. I think would be the best for us. But the flip side is the whoever wins this match is very much alive, right? I think if Juve win, it's hard to rule Juve out. Even with that, I looked up the schedule while you guys were talking, and that Bologna match comes between Roma and Udinese, which is, Udinese is a bit of a tricky team, right? And the way Inter have been struggling to get wins, I don't think it's a guarantee by any stretch. So I guess it's a long-winded way of saying it'll be very difficult if Inter lose the match, but I don't necessarily rule anyone out at this point.
What do you think, Jerry?
I never count out Juve. This is a team that can scrape out a 1-0 win against Inter on Sunday and right back in it. They're unbeaten, 15 straight games in Serie A? I think that really has to take into account because that is some good form, regardless if it's ugly football. At the end of the day, the most important thing is you get the W or you get an important draw depending on who it is. Like Anthony was saying, like if you get a draw against Inter, it's not all bad because you manage for them to not gain any points either. So you're hitting into a match here where I think that Juve are in better form than Inter all around. I think that defensively they have been really, really good. I think Matthias de Ligt gets a little too much flack from the Twitter universe and fans, seriously, because as bad as his handballs are, and I think some are bad luck and some are dumb, but for the most part, I'll say the bad luck. But overall, I think overall, like he's still the most important player probably in that back end and has really stepped up with Bonucci and Chiellini really taking a step back in their game, and that's inevitable. You got Dybala who's back, and I'm sure that he's still going to give his best in the last 8 games. He's still Juventini at the end of the day. And you got Vlahovic, who is a great addition. So it all depends on how Allegri kind of approaches each game, but even if it's ugly and it's dinosaur ball, we call it by most fans or whatever it may be, I think that they can't be ruled out because like this is a team who won 7 Scudettos in a row, man. Like it's not, or whatever it was, nine. But like, but at the end of the day, they didn't win last year, but still, they have the experience, they have the pedigree. They have a manager who was able to do it with them before. I don't see why he can't do it again. Like Inzaghi's losing the ship right now. And this is the pressures against him mostly of all managers, not Pioli and not Spalletti. There's no pressure on Spalletti or Pioli because for them, it's Spalletti came in and it was just kind of guide them back to a top 4, reinvent the system, the philosophy, and try to build some consistency now for Napoli and not kind of go to a new manager next year because that's always been the issue with Napoli. And with Milan, it's been a rebuild course, and they're probably the team that is probably in the driver's seat. But at the end of the day, I just wouldn't rule out Juventus.
Yeah, I disagree though a little bit in terms of not having any pressure on Spalletti because in that city, yes, at the start of the season, the goal was to finish in the top 4. But at this point, now the goal is to win the Scudetto, right? Like, how can it not be when you're that close and you haven't been that close since 17-18 and before that since we won it 30 years ago. So I think there is still quite a bit of pressure there. The one thing I forgot to mention was that between Inter and Juve have the 2 easiest schedules out of the top 4 teams.
It's true.
So you have to expect that. I mean, Napoli's coming up on a string of games where we play Atalanta, I believe it's Roma, Fiorentina, or maybe the reverse order, but both of those teams. Then we have an easier game, we can call it, against Empoli, and then we play Sassuolo. And I don't know the exact fixtures, but I know Milan has a really tough end to the season. I think they have 3 really difficult matches to close the season. So you can count on those 2 clubs to probably drop some points. If they don't drop many points, then they probably deserve to win the Scudetto. But assuming they do, then again, those are opportunities for Juve and Inter to make up ground.
I don't. Who has the easiest schedule?
Juve and Inter.
Probably Juve, I would say.
I think statistically it's Inter, but Juve isn't much harder. It's really those two, and then Milan and Napoli. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
They're quite difficult.
So
Tricky. I think a lot of tricky teams.
I'll go here. I'm not confident with Inter with an easy schedule because they've already shown in recent weeks that they can't secure against the smaller teams. I'm more confident in Juventus because they know how to manage a 1-0 lead. They know how to scrape out those dirty wins. I haven't seen enough from Inter lately, and that's what why I have a little bit more confidence in Juve over Inter right now.
I see what you're saying, Jerry, but also let's not forget Inter was without Brozovic, probably their best player for how long, Alex? You can tell me how long, but
and he was only out for 2 games.
But still,
what about before that? They weren't doing anything before that either.
Yeah, they had bounced back, and I don't know. So
Salernitana does not fucking count, man.
I understand that, and I said that on the show.
Beat them.
I said it on the show, but I'm saying they look like an informed side regardless of the opponent, and then he was out, and they've looked like utter feces since that point. So I
think he makes a big difference regardless. He can make a huge difference come Sunday. So who knows?
Yeah,
is he playing?
I think so.
He is playing. I mean, he's full training. I think he was full training today. So yeah, he and De Vrij both. But I want to pick up on something that Jerry was saying about pressure on Inzaghi, and it seems like it is there. I mean, there's some chatter coming out of Milano that if they don't either win a Scudetto or the Coppa Italia, that his seat could get very hot. I'm curious to see if that really is the case, because there's obviously a pretty good chance they don't snag either of those trophies. And it kind of ties into what Joe was saying about expectations, because heading into the season, after losing Conte and Hakimi and Lukaku and losing Eriksen to, freaks, and he's balling out now, by the way, but unfortunately, the Italian Federation would not allow him to stay in Italy. So after all those losses, like, you could have said before the season, hey, like, Scudetto, it'd be nice to get another one. It's not really the goal. Top 4 is the goal. But like Joe said, expectations can change during a season. And that it's something, it drives me crazy when apologetic fan bases will try and make excuses for their club collapsing to be like, well, remember, it was never actually the goal to win a championship. It was never the goal. But hold on. When it looks like you're about to walk the league in January, and then you end up dropping points left and right, and you may end up bottling it because, back in January, everybody except me, because I'm bad luck, I don't like to talk about things like that, but everyone back in January was like, oh, no, Inter, no problem. It's going to be like last season. They'll win it easily. When you're in that situation, and then if you do bottle it, then expectations are different. The expectation midseason became Scudetto or bust. So, yeah, it makes me wonder about that. But I want to go through injury situations for Juve and Inter and what we expect the starting 11s could look like. I'll start with Inter. As Lucci mentioned, Brozovic expected back, which would be a huge boost. Stefan De Vrij, who had an up and down season, but he's been hurt. He's expected to come back, so hopefully he's in good form. So I think we're likely looking at Handanovic in net, of course. Center back trio, the usual trio. Now that De Vrij, it looks to be healthy, of De Vrij, Skriniar, Bastoni, Perisic probably on the left. Not Hakimi. Dumfries on the right. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Marcelo Brozovic, Nicolo Barella. Hopefully he's gotten some good rest because he's looked dog tired the last few months. And then the duo of, hopefully they do something, of Dzeko and Lautaro up front. Lautaro's form has had some dips, some recent ups, but mostly downs. And Dzeko has looked every bit of his 35 years lately. But again, maybe a little bit of time to regroup will do them well. So I think it's going to be Inter's on paper strongest 11 on Sunday. And Anthony, I'll start with you. What's the injury situation? I know they had some season-ending injuries, but what's the health of the squad looking like for Sunday, and how do you expect them to line up?
I'll let Danny work on the lineup. In terms of the injuries, the players coming back, we have Zakaria is going to be back. He's back and available. Bonucci's back and available, as well as Chiellini. Dybala is fully fit. So we've been playing with basically a 3-5-2 the past maybe month, Lucci, somewhere around there. Now with Dybala back, Who knows if it flips back to a 4-3-3? I know that's really the only way we can play Dybala or 4-2-3-1. There's Allegri has options. I don't like it when a manager has to switch. When you have a good thing going, but in terms of players' injuries, other than like McKennie, Chiesa, like the long-term injuries, we have quite a few players coming back. And speaking of Dybala and Bernardeschi, these guys, Bernardeschi potentially out of contract. I think they're going to play lights out for the rest of the year. So a guy like Dybala has to start right from the beginning. I guess at the back, Danny can help me out with the back. I think it would most likely be Danilo, De Ligt, probably Rugani, probably Bonucci if he's fit, or Rugani might start. And then on the left side, Pellegrini. Sandro's back, much to the chagrin of many of the Juventini. And then from there, Danny can take the rest of it. And what you think.
The back end could go either way. Even Chiellini's available, so he could potentially. He plays well in these kinds of matches, so maybe he's his last derby most likely. So maybe he gets the nod. On the left, it could be any one of Pellegrini, Di Chilio. I hope it's not Sandro, but that's also a possibility. Mm-hmm. If Allegri decides to go with a 4-3-3, you can see probably Artur, Locatelli, and one of either Quadrado or Zakaria. Sorry?
It's Rabiot.
Rabiot, yes, I guess so. But then you leave your best player in Quadrado on the bench if that's the case you want to go. So there's options, which is good. And up top, it would probably be Dybala, Vlahovic, and Morata coming in off the left. So there's options, that's for sure. But we'll see if it works. They haven't had much time together. Dybala's been hurt for a little while since Vlahovic joined. So chemistry might not be there, but you never know.
Now, before in a minute, I want to start the predictions, and I'll get to the neutrals first to hear their predictions before the three of us give ours. But I want to ask you both, and Lucci, I'll start with you. It appears as though Dybala's time with the club is going to come to an end at the end of the season. Where do you think he's going to end up?
There's been a lot of talk of him ending up in Spain, whether that's Atletico Madrid or Barca. I could see one of those. I think he'd be best off in Barca, to be honest. I'm not sure how he would fit in very well under Simeone at Atletico, but as long as it's not Inter, he can go wherever he likes. As long as it's not.
I'm not even sure I want him at Inter. Only because he's hurt.
I've had these conversations, and he helps in certain ways, but he might hinder you in other ways if they have other. Inter has holes to fill too, and don't be surprised if they don't want to shell out 10 million. Not everyone can afford that, just like we can't or don't want to. So.
Well, it would have to be like, I don't think there's any way they could have him and Lautaro together. And I'm also not even really sure if I want to keep Lautaro, to be quite honest. But like it seems like it's one or the other. Like it's either going to be Lautaro still with Inter next year or Dybala. I don't think it's going to be both.
I would agree. Yeah.
He can go to Inter for all I care. He go wherever he wants, man. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. The guy's got to make his money. If it goes to Inter,
torched. If he goes to Inter,
everyone will care.
Hate
him. He doesn't give a shit either. I'm not one for hey, I'm the kind of guy who would celebrate in front of my old fans, like how Bonucci did when he went to Milan for Juventus. I didn't have a problem with that. A lot of people had a problem with that.
Like you.
I don't really care. So if he goes to Inter, good for him. Godspeed, young man. Hopefully you have a great career. I think we're gonna miss him, but the way that Juventus is
no, we won't.
The way, you can see where Danny and I disagree. But the way that we're rebuilding, I think we're gonna fill it with multiple pieces, which in the long term I think is better for Juventus.
I'm gonna vouch for Danny Lucci, and I agree with him. You guys are not gonna miss him. I agree.
I think if they replace him with other pieces, they'll be just fine. But if they don't do nothing, then yes, obviously you're going to miss one of your best players.
Yeah. I just feel like his whole career is unrealized potential. Like, and it's Argentinian national team and Juve. It's like unreached potential everywhere.
He's got to be one of the most frustrating players because he's so talented, but you just don't see it enough, and it's frustrating.
I don't think it's a loss.
You're frustrating.
I think that's a lot of money. 8 million plus, man, for a guy who plays like what 10 games a season now.
Wow.
Here we go.
I'm seriously though. You don't know what you're gonna get every
The
game.
guy was the MVP 2 years ago. Let's just calm down.
2 years ago, and since he's been MVP, what has he done? Though
He's done nothing since that.
He's had COVID. He's had COVID twice. He's had.
What's that line? What's that line? What you done for me lately? And what has he done for you lately? What has he done for Champions League? What has he done for Champions League? Champions League is the most important thing for Juventus right now. Don't look at Scudetto. Scudetto's on the side. That's cream on the crop for them. For them, it's Champions League, and they need the best players possible when it comes to Champions League to step up, produce, and get them to that next round. Round of 16 is what they're at. And then after that, it's like a barrier where they can't get by in the last 4 years. I don't keep track, man. Is it 4? I don't know, man.
Doesn't matter. They've lost to terrible teams every year.
Thank you, Lucci. So
I see what you're saying, Jerry. He's still a great player. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. I'm not saying he's not.
You need your best players available as much as possible, and he hasn't been there. So you can't rationalize paying him 10 million if he's not there all the time. That's
one thing I'd be curious to see though is Inter seem to have like the best trainers and physios, like as far as injuries go.
Except for Sensi. They couldn't
figure out Sensi, but everyone else, like Inter seem to have fewer injuries than the other top clubs. So I'd be curious to see if Dybala went to Inter, if they sorted that out. Because I think we would all agree that when he's on the field, he's usually one of the best players, right?
I'm curious to see no matter where he goes, if it's just a Juve thing that he's always hurt. You won't know until he goes, right?
I hope for I'm gonna be as a neutral here. I hope he doesn't go to Inter. I think that he's built a legacy.
Hold on, Jerry. If you're a neutral, you should want him to go to Inter. Otherwise, he leaves the country. If you're really a neutral, you would want him to stay in Italy.
If he left the country, let him go. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I don't want to see him play at Inter because I think he built his name at Juve. He built the fan base. It'll be a slap in the face, man. It's like it'd be such a slap. Everything he did at Juve would go down the drain, man. It would. How do you say whatever, man? It would, man. Absolutely. It's like Ciro Immobile tomorrow morning signing with Roma. It's like, what the fuck you doing? I would fucking burn every Lazio fucking Ciro Immobile tomorrow morning. I swear to God, if he did that, I couldn't fucking bear the fact. It's a rival, man.
How many teams did Baggio change to?
He played for everybody. Yeah, he played for Juve, Inter, and Milan.
Right.
And Bologna and Brescia. I'm not mad at him.
So you were okay with, as a child, you were okay with him going to a rival?
I'm not a child. I wasn't a child back. I'm not a child now.
I meant 15 years ago, whatever it was.
I guess Baggio's an exception to how good he was. He was just so good that we didn't care. He was just so he wasn't hurt every game.
No one hated Baggio. That's the difference.
Yeah. You know what? That's what it is. That's the perfect answer, man. That is a correct answer.
The guy was Buddhist. Yes. Like he was unhateable. Like he's all about peace and love.
Yeah, sure. I like that.
I don't know, but like if I know it would never happen, but if a player like Mertens went to Juve, nobody hates him today, but plenty of people would hate him tomorrow.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, like it looked like he was close to Inter, Joe. I know you remember that. So that he probably would have been hated for that, right?
Well, just like Higuain when he went to Juve, that was a big one too.
Yeah,
he ruined himself.
He's the most hated.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I just think that you build something like, why do you go to your rival, man? It's just like, it's. I can't stomach it, man.
I just think being over here in North America, it's more of a, and we talked about this on our show the other day. Seeing it in other sports here in North America, players go to different teams. You're kind of numb to it. So if Dybala goes to Inter, whatever, it's not going to change my day.
It won't.
I still got to wake up and go to work.
Still won't change my opinion.
It's because we don't live in Europe, man. Sure. I think in Europe, these guys are so invested and so integrated into their club. Like football is what they live for in Italy. There's no hockey, baseball, football, Formula 1. Yeah, Formula 1. But there's no like extra sports like you have your NFL, you got your MLB that kind of makes you forget what the hell happened yesterday.
You get that European basketball league. That's pretty good.
You know, my uncle, my Zio Beppe, who lives in Milano, he's a Milanista, but he swears that he's a bigger basketball fan than
Big
soccer fan, which I find to be very interesting.
Big over there for sure.
Yeah.
I also want to just add something that Joe was talking. You guys were saying before about Inzaghi being fired this season if he doesn't win a Scudetto or a Coppa Italia. I think he doesn't get fired regardless. And I said this was off the air with me and Joe talking yesterday, and he said a good point. And Inzaghi doesn't make cheap wages at Inter. He makes almost $4 million, if I recall. And if you fire Inzaghi, he still has one more year left on his contract. Yeah. Then you go around and you hire another manager. You're not going to go hire a $1 million manager tomorrow morning to come work at Inter. They're going to get a top manager.
Well, they're talking about and again, this is just the rumors. They're talking about De Zerbi.
Okay, so you bring De Zerbi, who's not going to come cheap, because I think he has a decent resume. What he did at Sassuolo and what he's doing now with Shakhtar, he comes in. Okay, let's say $4 million. We'll just ballpark. I'm just saying roughly $3 to $4 million. So not only are you paying $3 to $4 million for De Zerbi, you're paying on top Inzaghi's wages for another year. That's what, almost $8 million, whatever it costs. This is a team who doesn't have money in the first place and struggling to like make money and have to sell players. Yeah. That's why Inzaghi's not going to go. The only way he goes if he mutually agrees to terminate his contract and walks out. That's never going to happen.
Lazio. Wouldn't that be like a great reunion? Like you kick that loser cigarette smoker to the curb and bring in Inzaghi, bring him right back.
I would take Inzaghi back, but I know 90% of the Lazio fans would tell me to go fuck myself. That's for sure. But again, here comes the answer. What Anthony was saying: we're in North America. We don't give a shit if Inzaghi were to come back, maybe. But in Europe, they think differently because how it happened and what they're ingrained to, right? But I think Joe's right. Where I also agree. Like he's not going to go. Inzaghi stays another season.
Well, then you're. Sorry, Jerry. But then you're into the situation that Juventus is in right now. We have 3 coaches on the books, Danny? Right? We're still paying for the last 2. So at some point, you got to stop the coaching carousel. You need some sort of consistency.
Yeah, whether people like it or not. I didn't really give my opinion on it. I just gave you what the buzz was. Personally, I would absolutely give Inzaghi another year, even if this season ends 3rd or 4th place when it was looking, month and a half ago, like first place was almost a sure thing. I would still give Inzaghi more time because even though the expectations did change during the season, I understand that there were some difficulties and I can't expect him to just come in and be Conte because there's only one Conte. So I'm not on like the Inzaghi out brigade, and there's not a big brigade yet. It's just like a few people who are starting to try and gain more influence. But I'm not on that. I would give him one more year regardless.
Even if they drop out of the top 4.
Well, if they dropped out of the top 4, then I'd probably say Inzaghi out. But isn't that like it's almost impossible to drop out of the top 4?
It is.
Yeah, because I mean they're 9 points above 5th place with actually I was going to say with a game in hand, but Atalanta also have a game in hand. But still 9 points out of 5th place. If they were to drop out of top 4, then I think anything is possible. You get rid of them, but I'm not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that though. That'd be great.
Oh, I'm sure it would be for you. I'm sure it would be.
It wouldn't cross my mind if they dropped out. It wouldn't cross my mind though, because this is I've seen Inzaghi bottle shit up, man, and then this is Inzaghi style, man, where it goes fucking haywire and he doesn't have a plan B. That's the problem right now, is that he doesn't have a plan B, and it feels like teams have figured him out. That's the issue. Where I don't know, man. Like I don't know how he got away with a plan A for 5 seasons with Lazio, and somehow.
Well,
we stayed within the top 6 spot. Like
their expectations were a lot lower too.
No, down there. You're right, but at the end of the day, regardless of what your expectations are, he still was able to compete. He managed to get some impressive wins against Juve, Inter, Milan.
Fair enough. But when you're playing once a week, you have a lot of time to prepare, so that helps too.
Well, he had Champions League. He's been to Europa League every year. It's not like he crashed out and like we should have gone to the final 4 or final 8 when we didn't fucking colossal collapse against fucking I think it was Frankfurt when we were up 5-1 and we ended up losing We lost 6-5 and we gave up 4 goals in 5 minutes in the Europa League. Oh my god!
Forgot about that.
That's on the coach, isn't it? Is that not on the coach?
But again, these are going to happen to all coaches.
Well,
at the end of the day, the overall package of what we got from Inzaghi was better than what we anticipated, especially the fact that you only paid him like $1.5 million.
I think Inzaghi and Allegri are similar in this situation, whereas they're both not free from blame. They both do deserve some blame for the way the teams have, maybe dropped some points here, haven't played up to par certain games. But then again, Allegri's coming into a brand new team with a disaster. It's been a train wreck with midfields and injuries and this and that, and Inzaghi's probably lost two of his best players over this, which he didn't have a say in Lukaku and Hakimi. So
that's true too.
You got to. There's
and
other
Eriksen
factors,
well,
right?
Yeah.
So
I want to start. I want to get predictions for
Hold
the
on.
match.
Go
ahead.
We're on prediction. We all know that no one wants to give a prediction so you don't mush your team. Let's be realistic here.
But that's why I'm starting with you and Joe, because you guys will give predictions.
I was gonna.
You have any skin in the
Are we
game.
gonna talk about Atalanta versus Napoli? Because I like to get some takes on this.
Okay.
I think that's another big game this weekend where there's a lot of implication on.
Okay, so hold on. I want to finish with this match first. So I want you and Joe. Because the thing is, I don't want to jump to Atalanta Napoli and then jump back.
I'll give you my prediction. It's gonna be 1-1. It's gonna be the most fucking boring game ever, and that's
Fair
it.
enough.
It's gonna be 1-0 Juventus. We're all gonna think they're gonna freaking tie it. They're gonna sit back. We're gonna be like, how the heck are they gonna score? And some ugly, stupid goals gonna come off screen yard. It's gonna score, and that's it. 1-1, and both teams get fucked in the ass.
See, I could see that, but the opposite. I could see Inter being ahead for most of the way, and then Juve getting like 85, 89th minute game tying goal. I could see something like that. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, all indications are that it's going to be low scoring, with the Inter struggling to score and just Juve's approach, defending the 1-goal lead. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Juve win.
Interesting.
I don't know if I'd love to see the draw though. I actually thought Jerry would say 1-0 Juve, but I'm surprised he went with the draw.
Well, he's an Inter fan.
Joe, I hate both, man. I think they're fucking. God, as much as I know, I said about Juve and their form and everything. The one thing is like, sometimes they just show up with a big fart, and you're like, they went through this fucking. I'm sorry, like, I know that I might contradict myself here, and they're on this 15-game unbeaten streak, and they figure ways out to win.
But they have a lot of draws in those 15.
A lot of farts. They do. 15.
That's the only thing that scares me about Juve is that sometimes they just bullet a big fart, and you're like, what the fuck just happened, man? Like, why? How does this happen? Like, you go play the best game against fucking, I don't know, it was Salernitana, but before that, I don't know, they manage games properly, and then all of a sudden they just like, you know what? I'm gonna change my prediction. It's gonna be 1-0 refs.
So 1-0 Juve.
Yeah,
I was gonna say which way.
the refs are gonna help Juve on Sunday.
Oh man.
Well, didn't Inter kind of got screwed in the first meeting, right, with the late?
I thought so. These guys might disagree, but I thought so.
But maybe the opposite will happen. Maybe they'll level the scales.
Not in Torino though. I don't think the opposite.
And not after what happened against Torino, where that Belotti just got manhandled.
That's a good point.
I'm not going to say penalties. I'm joking aside. I'm not going to say penalties that Inter got screwed last game, because at the end of the day, and I tweeted this out, every team in the fucking league has been fucked in the ass, okay? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Specifically?
Well, not like that way, but...
Tell us how you really feel, Jerry.
I'm telling you how I really feel. Because at the end of the day, Roma's been fucked.
A lot.
Inter's been fucked. Atalanta's been fucked. Juve's been fucked. Milan royally been fucked. Like, let's just be honest. Because they lost 6 points by some really poor officiating. They should have beat Spezia, and that was a bullshit call, okay? At the end of the day, that's 3 points. Regardless if they let it slip and how it turned out, that was a terrible call by the referee who really cost him a win, okay? So let's put that at bay. And I don't care about Lazio. I'm not even gonna fucking talk about them. And Napoli's been screwed too a few times. So they got screwed against Milan recently. So again, every team's gotten a bad call. So I'm not gonna say that the refs were on Juve's side. I think that's such a bullshit excuse, maybe compared to recent seasons where maybe I'm not gonna say I don't want to get that far, but again, this season alone, I think referee has been in the favor of a lot of teams.
Let me ask Lucci and Anthony, do you either of you have the balls to make a prediction, or are you like me and you're too superstitious?
Oh, I'm the greatest predictor on our whole crew, right? No one can even come close to like my average, like my percentage. It's
not
it's
good.
Just it's up there. It's up there.
So tell me about a big Juve win then. Tell me about that.
For this one here, I actually agree with Jerry on 2 points. One, I also think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I don't think it's going to be exciting. I think our conversations that we're going to have at our little gathering there on Sunday at the Cafe Juventus Toronto is going to be much more interesting than what we see on the TV. And the second thing I would agree with Jerry on is the consistency of the referees this year. Just hasn't been up to par. Like when to use VAR, when not to use it, and it's affected all the teams. And it's affected some mid-table teams, even the top of the table points here and there. Maybe that's why the teams are so close together. But can just get the consistency. I think that's all we want. Like I don't put on the tinfoil hat like you do sometimes, Alex, with the conspiracy
literally
theories.
I do.
Right. And all that, like, this team's paying these refs. Like, come on, let's grow up a little bit. The refs just aren't good enough. They're just not consistent across the board. Now you have some good ones, but you just have too many that are just mediocre. And hopefully Monday we're not talking about how it came down to the ref making a decision in the game.
I concur. What about you, Lucci?
I'm thinking a draw as well. I could see it go to 2-2 though, like a late equalizer making it 2-2.
That's a lot of goals.
Who the fuck scoring 2 goals for Juve?
Take the over.
We got Vlahovic, baby. Dybala. Dybala's he's got to play for that 10 million now. He's got to do something.
This could be one of the one game every 4 months when Lautaro shows up in form. You never know.
I was thinking
it can happen.
Dzeko.
When you least expect it, it can happen.
Dzeko always seems to score, even at 40,000 years old, but whatever.
35.
Well, and then
close.
Still younger than you, Ant.
Sunday morning, I think that the Napoli-Atalanta game is I think it's going to be more exciting to watch compared to this Inter Juve game. Personally,
is it in Bergamo or Naples?
It's in Bergamo.
I still think Napoli wins. Atalanta have not looked convincing to me the last couple months. I still think Napoli wins. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm obviously hoping Napoli win. It's for Napoli. There's a lot of question marks around the lineup because Di Lorenzo got hurt. Then Rachmani and Osimhen both got suspensions for yellow card accumulation. So there's a bit of we think Mertens will start at striker. Hopefully he'll be confident. He just had a baby boy who he named Ciro, so he's automatically like the king of Napoli now.
Did he name him after Ciro from Gomorra or Ciro of Lazio?
No, but he's nicknamed Ciro in Napoli, right? Which is because it's such a Napolitan name. That's Immobile is Napolitan, right? So he named his son Ciro, so that's a good omen, I think. But Napoli have been so dependent lately on Osimhen for goals that makes you a little bit concerned. There's question marks about who will start over for Di Lorenzo at right back, whether it'll be Kevin Malqui, who's always hurt, or Zanoli, who's a kid. He's 21. So, but in Italian terms, I mean, you guys talked about this plenty of times this week, but 21 in Italy is like 15. Right? the way they play their youngsters. So there's question marks there. But my hope is that Atalanta have been really out of form in Serie A. I think it's 3 wins in their last 12 matches. I'm hoping that they view the top 4 as out of reach or not terribly focused on that, and that maybe their ticket to the Champions League is to win the Europa League, which they're still in. And if that's their focus, I haven't checked the schedule to see when the next Europa League matches are, but that could play in Napoli's favor as well. But I think from a Napoli standpoint, obviously you want to win, but a draw, given what we talked about with other teams likely to drop points between now and the end of the season, I don't think a draw would be a terrible result.
So I want to add on to that.
They play in Europa League next week.
Yeah, next Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
What do you think about that match, Jerry, on Saturday?
I think the biggest thing is that you're going to see Napoli's character is going to be tested on Sunday. You're going to see if this team is really that hungry to win a Scudetto and kind of step up, and you're going to see if the depth can really do its job in this team. Like, I think there's a lot of quality, even though they have a lot of players out to kind of compete against an Atalanta side where, again, they're Juventus part 2, where you just don't know who's going to show up. Either a good team shows up or a very shaky team shows up. So that's the Atalanta. And in consideration, Joe's right. You don't know what their mind frame is, again, around the Europa League. Is that where they're really invested in? Are they going to kind of look towards that already and maybe rest a few key players on Sunday, trying to get ready for that Thursday match? So there's a lot of questions. And then there's Zielinski, who got hurt during the international break. He picked up a thigh injury, if I'm not mistaken, if that was it. And apparently Fabian Ruiz is another question mark as well, I was reading. There's another, like, this is a very, Napoli is going to be tested, man, and it's going to show, like, their true colors, like I just said. So, and then you got Atalanta. I don't know who's starting for them. I'll be honest. I'm not going to start talking about Atalanta because I fucking hate them, because I hate Gasperini. So I'll just say on the record here, I hope they lose, and I hope Napoli wins, because I freaking hate Gasperini. And just for Lazio's sake, so we can get that 5th place. And it's so pathetic that I have to say that I want 5th place and not 4th. But anyways, but I'm gonna go with I'll go 2-1 Napoli out of this game. I think that somehow, some way, Spalletti will have the right mind frame ready on Sunday. I think he had a lot of time to kind of prepare for this match, and you can say vice versa for Gasperini as well. But yeah, it's, and I think the most important thing is that Insigne has to show up in this game. I think that's the most important factor here. I don't know if he's healthy or not, or whatever the case may be, but this is the time. This is a match where they need their captain the most, especially with so many players out. This is where he needs to step up and have finally a big game for Napoli, because he's been shit dog all year. So
is Osimhen suspended? Is Osimhen?
I was going to say that, Lucci. Yeah. He showed up against Lazio.
Yeah, that's the
I don't want to fucking talk about that, man. Okay? It makes me sick that he can score against Lazio, and both of his games this season were against Lazio.
We got Jerry upset.
Pisses me off, man. No, it's not even this season. Every year he owns us.
Yeah.
He has Lazio in his pocket, okay? It makes me, him and freaking Mertens.
But to be honest, it would be great for him to show up, but Napoli's kind of gotten used to him not showing up, right? Because he hasn't really shown up that much this season. But I definitely think he's going to start, because Lozano probably doesn't get back from North America until Friday. So he'll get 1, maybe 2 training sessions in before the match. And because it's an earlier game on Sunday, I doubt that Lozano would start. He's probably an option off the bench, which means Insigne likely starts on the left and Politano on the right. But you're right. There have been a number of these kind of little nagging injuries. We'll find out more about Zielinski on Thursday. He's supposed to get tested. And then I think Fabian was the flu. So that's kind of a weird one these days. You know, is that COVID? Is it not?
Right.
How long does that last? So, that's, and then the other concern for Napoli is that even with these guys that are missing, there are other players that are on a suspension. So, and Gisa is on 4 yellows. Koulibaly is on 4 yellows. So hopefully they just focus on this one game and they're not playing with that on their minds, because then that could, maybe impact their play as well.
It is holy water.
By the way, let me take this opportunity to shout out those who have been really active in the live chat. Of course, Lord Figo. And Lord Figo, welcome back to Twitter. He was on like a Twitter hiatus. He's back, and
he's fucking smart. I should learn from him.
And also, I think I've noticed for Figo, because he's made such a triumphant return to Twitter, and he's going after all the Milanisti and the Juventini. He's taking no prisoners, this guy. I think I always appreciated him, but he's appreciated even more now that he's back from a long absence. So it's like, maybe Jerry, that's the move. Go away for a couple months, and then when you come back, it's going to be like a hero's welcome for you.
Ticker tape parade.
Yeah. And so Figo, our guy Ivano is in there, and George, who's been really, really active. Before we wrap it up, any thoughts from Anthony? I'll start with you on Atalanta Napoli. What do you think happens there?
Well, Atalanta's not playing Juventus, so they're going to be dog shit on Sunday. Unless they're playing Juventus, I agree with Jerry again. That's twice today, where they, for some reason, there are boogeyman for Juventus. Whenever Juventus plays Atalanta, I don't know where this team comes from, because it's not the team that's going to show up on Sunday. I agree with Jerry there. I think Napoli has some injuries, but I think that'll be like a close game, like a 1-0. 2-0. I think it'll be a lot closer than people think, but I think Napoli they have the stones to pull it out. They've been up there all season. They know what to do. Atalanta is just, I think they're a clown show. I said it right from day one this season. They're a bunch of clowns. They put on a big show. No, it's all great and stuff, but no, get back to Europa League, you bunch of bums. So I think Napoli will pull it out.
Love it. What do you say, Lucci?
Well, I was hoping for like a Atalanta win, but I guess Anthony's not taking that route. But
no.
I would like to see them win. I don't see it happening, especially without Zapata. Like, they have no focal point up top. It's like nothing's clicking up there.
Mm-hmm.
And defensively, they are not good. So yeah, I think Napoli will probably pull out this win, probably 1 or 2-0.
All right, so Lucci, and then Anthony, of course, you can jump in on this as well. Tell me what you guys have cooking over there at All Juve Cast and where people can find it.
Go ahead, Lucci.
Yeah, we've got a lot cooking this upcoming Sunday. We have a watch party for the derby, Inter Juve at downtown Toronto, Cafe Juventus. Jerry's gonna be there. Anthony, myself will be there. We'll be giving some giveaways, some t-shirts, some striped hearts gear.
We got one for you, Jerry.
We do have. I don't know if he's gonna wear it. He'll probably burn it, so maybe not.
That's true.
I wouldn't burn it. I think that's rude, man. I think that I'm not that mean.
I'm happy to know you have some kind of manners.
Restraint.
It's very good. So we're doing that this weekend, and pre-game, post-game, we always have our podcast going on with the boys at All Juve Cast. And Anth, anything else you'd like to add?
Not only the boys, Alexa, we are also covering Juve women now at All Juve Cast, so she does a weekly.
If Dybala were to come to Inter, do we get Lex like as a part of that deal? Like, does she come over to the Nerazzurri, or
I think she would split her time.
She'd split out a trade, sure. Alex. You send the money to me, you can have her, no problem.
Yeah, it's we could work out on somehow we could split her time, because we're a little worried about young Lex if Dybala goes to Inter. But yeah, we got a lot cooking. We have we also have pre-game, post-game articles. We have a lot of writers at our website, so at alljuvecast.com, and our sponsor Striped Hearts Apparel. So we got stoppage time. We have another show. Some guys do midweek as well. But yeah, we're a big crew. We're about 13 of us over there. But really, Lucci and I are we're the best. We're the best ones. So
be serious.
You got the top cream of the crop for this show.
Who's the guy who runs stoppage time again?
Cliff. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Cliff. Cliff is the man.
Don't worry about it.
Never mind.
Cliff,
see myself
Cliff, he's a good dude.
I think Cliff is my favorite Juventino. No disrespect to you guys, but
he's so happy.
Cliff, he is the most optimistic, happy human being I've ever encountered. Like,
he's a golden retriever.
I don't know if
he's
our golden retriever. Heads in his freezer, like if he's got some dark secret that he's just hiding with happiness, but he's such a nice dude.
Yeah. You just scratch him behind the ears, and he's happy for the rest of the day. We love Cliff.
Joe, tell me and tell the folks out there what you have going on with the Forza Napoli pod, where you do such a consistently awesome job with that. Let people know where they can find it.
Yeah, so I mean, Forza Napoli pod on all your usual platforms. We just released an episode today. I interviewed John Ludden, who's the author of Once Upon a Time in Naples, which is the book that the Diego Maradona documentary was based on by Asif Kapadia, same guy that made Senna and Amy, and I think he won an Oscar for Amy. So I interviewed him. That one was really good, and then I'll have a preview episode coming out for the Atalanta match, and at some point I'll have to find the time to I cover the Femminile and the Primavera as well. Lex is doing a fantastic job covering the women, so definitely, I encourage everyone to check out the women's game. It's not, I know, it's not for everyone, but it's a growing sport. They need the support. I think Lex posted today that the Barcelona Real Madrid Champions League game was sold out.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was at the Bernabeu or if it was at the Camp Nou, but almost
91,000.
Yeah, it was insane. So I mean, Barcelona's women's team is out of this world, but so check, support the women's team if you can. It's it's getting better and better, and in Italy specifically, next season they'll become professional players, which is really important because when you're not a professional, a lot of them are capped at annual salaries of 35,000. They don't have any benefits, that maternity leave, things like this. So I'll take this moment to promote the women's game and. Check out the podcast at Forza Napoli Pod.
That's well said. Jerry, you have anything you're working on this week as far as writing? Anything you got going on?
I actually want to bounce on Jorge's comment.
Sure.
And I think that Leon.
I'm glad you said comment.
Yeah, I was ooh.
Why?
Carry on.
I just got it.
What happened? His comment.
You said jump on his
bounce on his comment.
Yeah, bounce on his comment.
You guys are sick fucks, man.
Moving on.
I would never roll that way. Anyways, I think that Lyon's women's team is probably the best team in like women's football. Like it's unbelievable what they've been able to achieve in the last who knows how long actually, but they
I think there's two Canadians on that team
in the first leg. I think tomorrow's the second leg.
Second leg's tomorrow. It's 1-0 for Juve, but they have a good system and model that has really developed women and through the rankings and become like very elite players. So I think they have a good system and a good platform that could be like the future for women's football if other teams were to replicate it and try to grow their teams as well. I think that's something like a Moneyball type of thing where they take that idea and instill it into their team and try to develop it. So do I have anything writing? I did a piece on Claudio Lotito, 17 years with Lazio. I wrote a piece on
17 years spending zero money.
Hey, he's won more than Roma has done in the last decade. Yeah, that's right, Cardone.
Wow.
If you want to talk about, I saw his comment that, well, how does it feel that Lotito's cheap and doesn't spend money? Hey, at the end of the day, the team was in a debt of like $400 million. He got him out of a debt. He took over the team at his lowest peak. He's won trophies. He's kept stability. He's kept consistency. He's managed to keep Luis Alberto and Savage together for 7 seasons. Hey, at the end of the day, he did for 6-7 seasons. He did it. And now you're selling Savage tomorrow morning, maybe for $80 million. You're going to reinvest it. Hopefully, it's done 60. Properly. Lotito will get $80 million. Just he got
Juventus will pay 60. He'll take it.
Just like he got $32 million for a bum named Joaquin Correa. Where 31 million is in the bank and 2.5 million in bonuses had to be paid to freaking Sevilla. Okay, that's fine. Savage is leaving. Yeah, okay, but at the end of the day, that money is going to be reinvested into the club, and you have to do it. And Lazio is not the only team that has to sell their best player. Every team is going to have to do it because COVID fucked everyone up, okay? You think everyone's going to just tomorrow morning... Except PSG. Like, it's inevitable. Every team has to do it, man. Every Italian team is in a really...
We'll send you 25 in our tour, okay? Good deal.
And we'll let you in the Super League next year, maybe.
I'll end with this. I hope I don't die on Sunday when I go to this Juventus club because I will be going...
You're with me, buddy.
Shit, I'll be going in Lazio gear and I don't give a fuck if I'm around
stand out like a sore thumb.
You better believe it. And I'll be the guy
tattoo
cheering
Lazio on your forehead too. You'll be fine.
I'm
you
going to be the guy
about
cheering when Inter scores, man. I'm going to be running around laps, and I'm going to be dead on the
might be a little much. Might not make it out.
We can't protect you then.
Yeah.
That's our limit. We try.
I love it. And listen, I want to ask everybody, make sure you're supporting this show every way possible. The easiest, freest way to support us is by smashing the like button, the thumbs up, because that really helps out. The more likes we get per episode, the more people see it. That's just how the YouTube algorithm works. And subscribe to our channel. I know that some of you bums show up here, you watch the content, you don't subscribe. Don't be a bum. Subscribe to the channel. Turn the notifications on if you want to. It's a great way to know when we're going live. So make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like button, subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, don't be a zero. Be a hero.
Yeah. Also, subscribe to our audio podcast as well. The audio version of these shows also gets released. It's good. You listen in the car and stuff through the Bluetooth and the speakers. Just search Calcio Connection on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your pods. And if you want to support us in the tip jar, you can sign up for our Patreon channel as well. So huge shout out and thank you to everyone. Joe, Daniel, Anthony, and of course Jerry. Jerry, do me proud at that Juventus watch party. Just if you want me to send you some Inter gear to wear, I can ship it first class.
There's going to be Inter fans there. Inter fans will be there as well.
Yeah.
It's funny. I do have an Inter jersey at home.
You do.
What's the? I didn't know you had that. What's the jersey?
Hold on. I bought this when I was thinking about this the other day, and Joseph, I wanted to remind him. We actually watched Inter play versus a Greek team, Olympiacos. I think it was in 2010, and it was an indoor game at Scudetto. And I still remember how I was thinking about this. Maicon blew his knee, if I remember, because he played on that shit fucking turf, the fake freaking field, and he blew his knee because he pivot or something. This is the only thing I remember the whole game was Maicon killing his leg, and I think that was the end of him. It was a really bad injury he had.
Bringing back a painful memory.
And I remember the whole crowd saying, why do we have this stupid game? It was the most irrelevant, boring game I ever saw. Two teams not giving a shit, and it was the best.
Called it World Cup of Soccer or World Series of Soccer, something like that.
It was dumb, man. It was the best part was after the game, we ran down to the field and we actually met some players, which was nice. But that was pretty cool. But I bought an Inter jersey, by the way, but $10. It was off of the street, and it was cheap.
Was there a name on the jersey?
It's because I gave it to my father. I remember buying this for my father, and I was like, you know what, $10. I wanted to wear something because of the game. I'm the kind of guy who likes to be sporty at the game, and I gave it to my father. I don't know what happened to it after.
Yeah, I've never actually admitted this publicly on the show, but when I was in second grade, growing up in Miami, where I still live to this day, there was a friendly, and I was 8 years old. This was early 90s. Milan came to town for a friendly, and I actually publicly at 8 years old supported Milan in that game. That was my one and only day in life as a Milanista. But I did. I think they lost to. I think they were playing the Colombian national team in a friendly, which was odd. A national team versus club team. But I actually publicly at the Miami Orange Bowl, which has since been torn down, I publicly supported Milan, and that's my shameful admission for the day. Never
Which
again.
Milan team was that?
It was going into, I think, what would have been the 92-93 season. So they were very good at that time.
Everybody was a Milan fan back then.
I mean, if you had to pick a time to support Milan,
that was
probably it.
Hold on, don't put words in my mouth. Pick a time. I picked one day. Because
that's fine.
I was an Italian football fan, and Italian teams just didn't come to the States very often. And so, there was an Italian team in town. I publicly supported them at 8 years old. I'm sorry I said anything. Huge shout out to everybody who watched or listened to this episode. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.